Games. They have the power to transport us into whole new worlds. Show us a perspective that we could have never imagined. They challenge the status quo, make us feel seen, take us on emotional roller coasters, or deepen our bonds with loved ones, and even teach us new things. Sound a little too good to be true, right? Well, let's look at Shigeru Miyamoto's Legend of Zelda. The birth of this series goes all the way back to his childhood. As a child, Miyamoto spent many of his days outside exploring nature and the local rice paddies in his area. It was like an adventure for him, discovering new things, finding ways to entertain himself. Miyamoto states in an article published by NPR, "There's a place near Kobe where there's a mountain and you can climb the mountain, and there's a big lake near the top of it. We had gone on this hiking trip and climbed up the mountain, and I was so amazed. It was the first time I had ever experienced hiking up this mountain and seeing this big lake at the top. And we were creating this grand outdoor adventure where you can go through these narrow, confined spaces and come upon this great lake." It would not be until years later that Miyamoto would pull from this experience to create The Legend of Zelda. And it was this perspective which was the primary reason the series did so well. It was a perspective that has yet to be seen in the gaming world. It was fresh, different, fun, and unique. The Zelda series managed to capture that sense of exploration and childhood fun from Miyamoto's upbringing and share it with the world. Many players found a passion for the game genre that they would have never known if the game had not been created. And because of this series, other developers were able to be inspired to create more great games as well. In this case, Ginn Impact. Ginn Impact is an open-world adventure that follows the protagonist along a journey to find their sibling. But it catches a lot of heat, mainly because the developers were heavily inspired by The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. And the public did not hold back any scrutiny on this. Critics immediately began pointing out the similarities online. Despite this discussion, the developers still feel that Ginn Impact stands alone as its own game. And I think so too. Yes, there are unquestionable similarities, but there are differences as well, which work to create a different experience. One that you can't find anywhere else. But because of Breath of the Wild, Ginn Impact was able to be created and share with players a world that is magical, comedic, but also intense and cinematic. Now I encourage you to think about a favorite game of yours and what did you take away from it. Personally, when I think about a game that has heavily impacted me, I think of Xenoblade Chronicles. The game stars a protagonist named Shulk, who would normally live a peaceful life. But his life is plagued with mechanical beings who seem to have it out for his race. Despite this, the protagonist, along with friends, chooses to fight back against the mechanical beings that want to exterminate his race. But the point that I took away as a child was that in every situation, whether good or bad, I can choose how I respond. How I let my circumstances impact me, whether I look at it positively and move forward, or let my circumstances decide my future. Ultimately, I have the ability to choose what happens in my life, despite the challenges that may arise. Looking at games through this perspective, they act like works of art that convey themes, teach life lessons, and expand our minds to new concepts. This is all achieved through the power of storytelling, world and character development, audio design, and more. All these elements work together to put the player inside the minds of the developers. They allow for inspiration of other games, self-expression, and the portrayal of new perspectives. Whether it is realized or not, games have the power to shape who we become, shape how we perceive life, and ultimately shape the next generation.